Hello everybody, welcome to GameReviews411. Today I'm going to be reviewing Nancy Drew Warnings at Waverly Academy, the 21st game in the Nancy Drew Adventure Game series. With the premise of this game being fantastic and the intro being very thrilling, I was fully ready to play an amazing game. However, there were surprisingly quite a few flaws that made playing the game not as enjoyable as I first suspected it would be, so let's take a look at these flaws and an in-depth analysis of the game. Waverly Academy is a prestigious all-girl boarding school for 9th to 12th graders. Usually the only drama that occurs involves some sort of girl fight, but lately valedictorian candidates have started receiving threatening notes from somebody calling themselves the Black Cat. The first note is just a warning, but after you receive a second note, something horrible is about to happen to you. So with two girls currently in the hospital due to getting their second note, you as Nancy Drew go undercover as a transfer student to get to the bottom of these accidents. This story is easily the best part of the game. It's very interesting and there are many plot twists that will keep you guessing the identity of the Black Cat. There are even a few backstories for you to discover involving typical high school drama scenarios. Unfortunately, there isn't much danger in the game once you arrive, which, if it had been there, would have added even more to the pretty awesome story. This game is a first-person point-and-click adventure game, like all the other games in the Nancy Drew Adventure Game series. In this game, you get to interview suspects, look for clues, and go around the location for this game, which happens to be the dorm hall where all the valedictorian candidates live. It's a really small location, though. It's about less than 10 rooms, and you never get to leave it. This extremely small environment definitely took away from any kind of exploration aspect that the game could have had. Now, there are about 5 valedictorian candidates that you will talk face-to-face with in this game, but they're all terribly stereotypical. You've got everybody from the nerd girl to the jock girl to the goth girl, and it just would have been nice to have some broken stereotypes in the game. The puzzles are just okay in this game. There really aren't that many that I found to be very fun, and several of them were actually so unobvious that I was forced to resort to a walkthrough after being lost on what to do for a few hours. Now, there are 2 levels in this game, an easier junior detective mode and a harder senior detective mode. But there really weren't many differences between the two, except in junior detective mode you get a few easier puzzles and a hint system, which really isn't that helpful, to be honest. There really weren't that many differences in the inventory interface in this game. I mean, you've still got your inventory, you've still got your notebook, and you've still got your checklist available in junior detective mode. The only difference has to do with your cell phone. You can now receive text messages from the other girls in the academy, although you cannot send them out. This was a new feature to the game, and I thought it added a new level of depth to the game and actually made it a little bit more fun. Probably the biggest downfall to the entire game was the length of the game. I mean, it was horrible. If you don't include the hours I spent lost on those puzzles that I talked about earlier that were extremely unobvious, then the game comes in only about 3 hours of gameplay. That is ridiculously short. Almost no other games on the market have that limited playtime. Also, despite the first cutscene being a little bit creepy, nothing else even remotely scary happens in the game. Because of these flaws in the gameplay, I just didn't enjoy the game as much as I thought I was going to enjoy it. The 3D backgrounds in this game were actually quite well done. In comparison to other PC games on the market, they may not be anything fantastic, but in comparison to other adventure games on the market, they were really quite excellent. Unfortunately, the few cutscenes that there are in the game don't live up to the 3D backgrounds. Cutscenes are actually quite terrible, being fuzzy and unclear looking, and just not being pleasant to watch at all. The music was good in this game, but not very noticeable. You're never going to get sick of it, but that's mostly going to be due to the fact because you're never ever really going to notice it. The voice acting was okay. Some characters were fantastic, while others completely didn't sound like their stereotypical personalities, which should have been relatively easy to voice. This game is definitely way too short, and because of that, it's a bit underdeveloped too. However, the story is still far superior to other adventure stories on the market, and the gameplay isn't all bad. I'm rating this game a positive 1, which means good, but I'm also going to only recommend getting it if you can find it rather cheap. Thank you so much for watching. That's going to be all for this review, but I can't wait to see you guys in the next review here on GameReviews411.
Looks like the new girl gets 5 demerits. And if she's not back in her room in 10 seconds, she'll get 5 more.